Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Talking Baldocks. In fact, episode 25 this week, Matthew.
25. I've just
Yeah,
I've dropped my pen. Hang on. Okay.
good start.
Go. Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I'm Neil Baldock,
And I'm Matt Baldock.
and let's get into Talking Baldocks.
There we go. That was fairly seamless.
That wasn't a bad start. We're getting better.
Yeah. It
Um,
wasn't the worst.
it wasn't the worst. So, we've been talking off camera about the value of human connection.
Yes. So human connection and obviously AI. So AI is a big thing that everybody is talking about. I'm not sure people are bored of talking about it yet, but it's something you can't really ignore. I was with our website designers yesterday, and we were obviously AI came up in AI search to make sure your website's optimized for that kind of thing. So I thought, but obviously, I still think that the value of human connection is one that must not be underrated. And actually, I would go as far as to say, if there was a silver bullet in agency, and I probably mean a very slow silver bullet, I think building relationships, actually physically meeting people, talking to people, that's probably the kind of the silver bullet that there is to get business.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, ultimately, we're in a service business, and I always say to people, well, what we're actually in is a relationship business.
Yeah.
And so, and I do think that AI has got a massive future in our industry as well, but it's not going to replace the humans because at the end of the day, um, you know, we are in an advisory role. That's what we're here to do, is give advice, get the best outcomes for clients. Now, if you can use some technology, whether that's AI or anything else, to achieve those outcomes, that's one thing. But the clients want that human connection and that relationship to actually give them that advice.
Yes, 100%. So I actually think, just to kind of tweak it that a bit, I think it will replace humans. I think it will replace humans that aren't in advisory roles or aren't
Mm.
or trying to be that. I think fairly soon, and by soon I mean within even a couple of years maybe, the days of just the order takers or the people that have been very happy just to kind of fly under the radar, not really build connect, just do little bits of admin here and there. I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be needed.
No, I agree. I think AI can take away a lot of heavy lifting, can't it? So I do agree. I think admin roles, particularly, are, unless they add some other type of value, pure admin. Um, those days are probably numbered because you can get AI to write you a letter today. You can get it to draw up your sales memorandum today. You could get it to write up an inspection report for you today. So administrators are not that necessary. Um, but there's some people like property managers, for instance, are in a mixed administration and advisory role, and I think that's where but they've got to start doing more of the advisory stuff than just the admin.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think the same about negotiators. I think there's a lot of salespeople out there, sales consultants, sales negotiators, however you want to term it, in agency that are just basically picking up a phone. Hello, Acme Estates. Oh, you want to view One Acacia Avenue, 11 o'clock. Okay, bye. And they're doing nothing else. They're doing nothing else with it. And that can be easily automated. And so it could be really easily automated already via text and email and online booking systems, but soon it'll be able to be done by voice as well. And I know there is a case for, well, actually, you should really be booking, there's more to booking a viewing or booking a valuation than just that. And I agree with you, but I also know for a fact there's people sitting in estate agencies that aren't doing that.
Mm.
So there are people sitting in estate agencies who are getting paid literally to answer phones and take orders, basically. Um, and it's all well and good saying, oh, the Irish, but what an AI won't do is forget to ask if someone's got a house to sell. It won't forget to ask about mortgages. It won't forget to ask about conveyancing. It won't feel embarrassed to ask these questions. So, and it's a conversation I've had here with our team. I think very soon the days of wanting to be faceless are gone. If you just want to turn up, answer some phones, book some appointments, and go again, your value is going to start diminishing quite quickly. You need to be public facing. You want people to know who you are. You want people to ask to deal with you.
Mm,
And obviously, you've got the self-employed personal brand. That's where that's going. But you can still very much have that within the employment setting. There are people that are still that want to be employed, and there are employers that want to employ people. But and this is actually a topic. This is another one I want to talk about. Employers are being villainized at the minute with people trying to sell the self-employed model. But it's hard employing people, right? It costs a lot of money, and
hell of
and
a
and
lot,
it
mate.
gets more and more expensive. Almost it seems almost yearly. Um, so you're going to want people, if you're paying them a wage, you're going to want them to bring in business.
Mm,
Um, and very soon, but actually proactively get business. And that's where I think a lot of sales negotiators out there have got to have a look at themselves and be honest and say, am I really just answering a phone or am I actually bringing value and earning my desk cost? Something you talk about is, how much your desk should cost.
mm.
And that's what they have to earn.
Well, there's a couple of points. I'll come back to the AI particularly bit, but just on that, the cost of employing people. So with the minimum wage going up, I was having a look the other day, and if you're over 21, it's going to be about 24,500. That's the minimum wage. But then you've got to add on your employer's national insurance, pensions, everything else like that. And I think, I mean, the very basic cost is about 27 grand cost to the business, probably more like 30,000. And then you've got their desk and office space and all the other overheads as well. So employing people now only really makes sense if they are going to deliver extra revenue to the business, which is, I feel for people in a purely admin role who are not adding any extra value to the business because that's where the AI is probably going to absolutely wipe those roles out. Because of course, if I can get something done for zero or for a software subscription rather than £30,000 and manage that person and all the rest of it, then frankly, why wouldn't I as a business owner? Um, Having said that, because I want to be very careful we don't categorize all admin people into, if you've got a really good PA or someone who's enables you to earn more income, then there's still a place for them. Do you know what I mean? So like, but I think admin people have got to be able to see, right, am I enabling someone else to do a lot more, or am I just pushing some paper around? Because pushing paper around is a thing of the past.
Yeah,
Um,
the days of coasting are very soon to be over.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So it was interesting this conversation's come up because I'd actually asked AI, I'd actually asked my chat GPT this morning to give me a breakdown of every single task it could see that can be done in an estate and letting agency business by AI. And I mean, it's a massive list. We won't go through them all because, but it was interesting how it categorized it. I thought was that it puts it really into four categories. One is AI only, so you can completely remove a human being. One is AI first, so this is a task that AI will do, but then it just needs a human to sign it off, have slight oversight of it. Um, AI assist, which is same amount of people but far more output. So we're talking about enabling our people to do far more work without them taking on the workload and burning out. And then the fourth one is human only. And if interestingly, it did put in brackets for now. So it obviously expects that as this moves on, there will be tasks that perhaps a human only can do right now, but in the future, maybe there might be an argument that an AI can do it. So yeah, really, it's kind of like those are the four things I think people have got to look at in their business is like, right, what tasks can we move into those different sections?
And it's and there's two things. So, you said then about what it can enable for your current team setup to then do more work. And I would also argue to do better work. So, just to give, a very basic example, I remember, God, it was well, probably a year ago, I was discussing AI with one of our property managers and she started getting worried. She goes, oh, it all sounds very scary and very worrying. And then bit later on in the day, she had like a 20-minute phone call with one of our landlords. A really just nice conversation about how are you doing, and yes, there was something to discuss, but kind of just actually looking after them, what I would call proper customer care. And when she put the phone down, I said, that sounded a great call. She goes, yeah, I love calls like that. And I said, well, do you have time to make? I said, you've got 100 odd landlords under your portfolio. Do you have time to phone and have those conversations with them? She said, no, I don't. I said, well, what about if AI automatically booked your gas certs, booked
Mm.
your EICRs, you know, scheduled your inspections? And she goes, well, yeah, I'd have loads of time. And I was like, and that's the point. So the point is that yes, I believe that people will be able to manage more properties when you fully have AI fully functioning, but it'll be able them to do better work. And by better work, I mean have more human conversations and build more connections. Because as the world starts to go where you don't need to talk to people as much, and we had it a little bit in the pandemic, right?
Mm.
People really valued humans again and conversations. It was very short-lived because we came out of the pandemic and then like within 6 months everyone was shouting and arguing and beeping at each other down the street again. But for a time we were all together. And I think that when you get to a stage where you're not talking to another person through most of the stuff you're in life, trying to book a table at a restaurant, trying to book a hotel, anything. You're going to be dealing with AI and lots. I think people will start to really value the human connection, and actually they'll probably end up paying a little bit more for it.
I agree. I think the only thing I would say is the other flip side of that, and I totally agree, there's always going to be a value, but it's where that human connection comes in. Because I was just thinking about the booking a takeaway thing. If you think back, and the thing is, a lot of people, perhaps in our industry now, might not even know about this because of their age and how, it's going to make us sound like a couple of old fogies, but we have been around a bit. But if you think back to when we were kids, let's say, if you wanted a takeaway at the weekend, your mum or dad had to phone the restaurant and go through it and actually put the order in, yeah? So you're putting your Chinese order in, and someone actually had to phone up and order it and then go down there and collect it, right?
Can we just pause very quickly? They had to phone the what?
The restaurant.
The restaurant.
The restaurant, yeah.
Right, yeah, fine. If you're listening to this, can people please comment and say if they believe Neil says the word restaurant funny? But anyway, carry on.
It's the restaurant. But yeah, so people, you had to phone it up, speak to the person, put your order in. Then we got these online ordering systems, Amazon, and a lot of this has, let's face it, this has all moved on since lockdown as well. But there are people out, what I'm trying to get to is there are people out there who enjoy not talking to people,
Yep.
which is a sad reality, but it is a reality. But there is, but you do then also have people that value the human connection and they do want that. But I do think there is, and so what we can't do is say everyone's always going to want to speak to a human because ultimately, as things move on, either there's a either people get used to it or people think, do you know what? I don't really like speaking to other people. I love speaking to an ordering system or whatever, and they go down that route, and you can't stop that because that's human choice. So yeah, I think what I'm saying is you've got to embrace it, and you can't always say, oh, well, everyone's always going to want to deal with a human because I don't think everyone always is. But where the human comes in is like adding that value because, let's face it, if you want to order something a bit out of the ordinary at your local Chinese these days, you've still got to make the phone call because otherwise the computer says no.
Yeah, no, that is true. And I think yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a shitty example, really, but like there is, it's still that advice piece, right? So, like, you can go out for dinner and you can scan the QR code and you can order. But if you go to like a more of a top-notch restaurant, you want to ask the waiter's opinion. You want to say,
Mm,
what's good. You
yeah,
want to speak to the wine
absolutely.
sommelier. You want to understand what wine goes with it. So there's that
That's
human
right.
advice. The expert advice is a bit better, and you are almost paying for an experience. Maybe it's not the human. You're paying for more of an experience. You feel you're getting more for your money because there's someone, and he might be making it up because you don't know what wine's good or what, and some bloke's telling you,
But it
have this,
feels good. Yeah,
have
yeah.
it, but it feels good. And I think long term, that's where it's going to get to. I think I think people will end up having a couple of services, and it'll be like this is your
Agreed.
cheap service, and you never speak to anybody, and this is the premium service, and someone actually sits in your living room because we're going to get to a stage where even on a screen you're not going to know if it's them or not. So you're going to have to actually be able to touch them to know if it's them. The other bit that AI can't do currently, which comes away from the restaurant and those kind of service industries analogies, and I think is fairly unique to agency, but won't probably be exclusive, is empathy. You know,
Mm.
when someone's sitting there and they're getting divorced, a parent's passed away, and they're left with this house, they need to sell it or rent it out. Um, I actually yesterday I was in the office and I couldn't believe it. You won't believe this. I haven't told you. Someone actually came to the office to ask to view a property for sale.
Wow.
Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the last. Pick someone. She could have emailed, she could have phoned, but she turned up at the office, and she was going through a separation, and she had to move out and find somewhere. And you could tell that human interaction was just a bit better. She could have done it online, but she's going through a tough time, and I think she just wanted to look somebody in the eye and have a bit of help.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, I agree. And I think, funny enough, we had a landlord turn up at the office the other day, and it was just purely coincidental. I was there right at that time, and I opened the door and I spoke to them. But again, they wanted to transfer from another agent, and they didn't want to just phone up and like book a valuation or like have a conversation. They literally turned up at the office and said, "Look, we've seen your good reviews. We want to talk to someone," and they wanted to sit down and have half an hour with a human. And I think that's where, like using your example of the different tiers, I think I can see a world in the future where, especially in lettings, like somebody kind of turns around and says, "Well, I only want to pay 6% management." And you go, well, that's fine. That's not a problem. We can provide that service to you. But what you will not be getting is like face-to-face contact with us. You won't be getting 4 inspections a year. You won't be getting a sit down with one of our senior portfolio managers to review your portfolio. But yeah, we can do your property management, arrange your gas safety, ICR, EPC, compliance, all this stuff. Um, but just so you know, like you can't ring us every 5 minutes. So it's which service do you want? And
yeah,
I reckon that's probably the way
and
industries will go.
100%. And because it's, at some point you will be able to make a cheap service profitable as long as the person acknowledges the service isn't going to be personal. Profitable but not personal. Is how it's going to be. And then as you say, you can have the other tier there. And mate, a long time in the future, and probably before when we're not doing this anymore, you might be right because we keep looking at what the younger generations want, and we go to a lot of marketing seminars. We're told about this new generation. The difficulty I have with it is they're not buying houses. I'm learning about what 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds, they don't want to talk to anybody. They're not selling houses till they're 35. So we've still got a long push through. And
Mm.
again, it's to everyone. We've got Freddie, my 17-year-old son, your nephew, works for us here on a Saturday. The guy doesn't email anybody. He phones everybody, even in his personal life. If he wants to find something out, he doesn't send an email request and he phones. He wants to join the gym, he phones the gym. His college, he phones the college. So I still think there'll be people, but as you say, generationally, it may change, but not for some time. So I think agents at the minute, you've got to earn money, but also plan for the future. Um,
Definitely. And I
and,
think,
and yeah,
well, I
and
think it's
save money.
and save money definitely, but I think that's an important point to make. You can't categorize every human as the same
No,
because some people are introverted, some people are extroverted, some people are neurodiverse, some people are neurotypical. There's all kinds of reasons why one person prefers picking up the phone and speaking to someone to
you've been learning some new words.
mate. I'm an educated scholar, as you know, but there's so many different reasons why people act and behave in the way they do. Um, so if you're building a one solution fits all business,
100%.
then that's not going to work out too well for you, I wouldn't have thought.
No, and also it's not. It's all the same, just with like different tech. So if you think about it, everyone like goes on about Rightmove now. That we used to have the newspaper, then we have Rightmove, and then AI will be the new thing. It's like people used to read magazines, and now they look at things online. At the minute, we still have. It can't be one size fits all. So I'll have somebody of a certain age or generation or even mindset that wants a phone call. I'll have another customer that just wants a WhatsApp. I've got some
Mm.
people, if you're dealing with me, the team here know if you email me, you're not going to get a response for ages. If you want an instant reaction, WhatsApp me because I've always got my phone in my hand, but I
Yeah,
don't have my email notifications on. So at the minute, it's not a one size fits all. We're having to. It's about the client saying, "Listen, these are you can't have 1,000 different machinations, but like this is what we can offer. Which one suits you best?"
yeah,
And
yeah.
it will just be the same, but an option will be automation.
Yeah, yeah, because actually, it's also not always just about the person and how their brain works. It's just what's convenient to them at that time in their life. So if they're just a
Yeah.
really busy person, maybe a business owner, whatever else, or just like, they're really busy with their job or indeed their children or whatever the case is, they value the convenience of, yeah, just someone chucking them a WhatsApp so they don't have to keep answering the phone. Whereas there are people around that actually value the fact that maybe they're not talking to that many other people and they'd love to get a call from whether it's their estate agent or someone else to kind of have that bit of interaction with.
Yeah, mate, loneliness is a very real thing out there, and I think as everything becomes more automated, loneliness will just get kind of more real. So, and as we all know, estate agents, people from the out that aren't in the job will think, oh, all we do is chuck stuff on Rightmove and hope it sells or rents. But estate agents are social workers to a certain extent. We
Yeah.
we we deal with people in varying stages of their lives, and they rely on us. So. Yeah, it definitely won't be a one size fits all. But I think if you bring it back to today, I think rather than looking at it as the big bad baddie, it's not that. But also it's not a lifesaver that's going to cut all your costs immediately. You need to look at it sensibly and kind of say what works and what doesn't. And the best thing I think about it is that I can't see how this early adoption matters as much because it's moving at such a pace. And the bigger it gets, the cheaper it seems to get. So, you're the same as me. We have hundreds of people DMing us on LinkedIn. I've got this AI solution, that AI solution, that AI solution. But you don't have to kind of go, oh God, we better get it quickly because you can just wait and wait till it's right and it can do the bit, the bit that you want.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think the only thing you've got to be you're probably if your competitors have got that mover advantage of having some of this tech. But yeah, you're right. You don't want to implement it for implementing its sake. I think there's got to be some thought and strategy into it. That's the thing. You can't just go, oh, that looks shiny, let's whack it in the business. You've got to have a reason why are we doing this and what's it actually going to achieve for us. But yeah, I think the one thing that is not a wise move is to have the mindset, oh, it can't do anything for my business, or
No.
because it will, and you'll get left behind. The right mindset is really, what can it do for my business, and how can it help me, not replace me, but how can it help me? And really simple things like a lot of the CRM. I mean, this is already in most CRMs now, but an AI can write your description for you.
Yeah.
And I personally think the people that are sitting there going, well, no one can write a description as good as I can. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, there'll be someone out there who can write one better than you. And this is, again, there's nothing to stop you having the oversight of it. But if it can write your whole description and you can then tweak it and whatever, and that enables you to do more prospecting calls or more sitting on people's sofas valuing the houses, that's the way it's got to be looked at. Is not, oh, no one can do it better than me. There's loads of things that a computer can do better than me, and I just want to find out what they are.
But it can only do it as it's important to say it can only do it as well as you or better than you if it's been taught.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
if you don't tell it anything about you or anything about your writing style, if you just go 3 bedroom, send me a case you have and you write me some details, they will be a bit shit because it only learn from what's out there. And we have had decades of really shit estate agents details. So it will come up with coving to seeding, double panel radiator and all that nonsense. But if you feed it your style, how you write, it will then start to do it. So it's a bit of that shit in, shit out, right? You've got to actually teach it and almost train it as a team as another team member.
You do definitely have to view it as a virtual team member because, we used this analogy before, but you wouldn't, or I'd hope you wouldn't bring a new team member in and they get one task wrong and you say, oh, I'm never giving them any work again, I'm firing them. Like,
Yeah,
you just wouldn't do it. You'd say, no, sorry, like, you thank you for your effort, but you didn't quite do this right. This is how I want you to do it, and then you give them another go. But like, people take the view with AI, oh, that was crap. Well, yeah, have a look at what you actually told it and tell it, oh, thanks for doing that, but I didn't like these, because it's not human. You can be damn straight with it and say, I really didn't like what you did there. Please don't ever do that again. What I'd like you to do is X, Y, and Z, And he'll probably come back and say sorry to you because my chat GPT is normally quite personable.
Mate, I'll be honest, as somebody who is very much about my team and their welfare and looking after people, I do love the fact I can just tell ChatGPT how it is. So
Yeah,
I feel a bit sorry for mine. I kind of probably take some of my frustrations out of it because when you're dealing with actual humans, you just have, things happen and you have to wear a lot of stuff as an employer. But with the ChatGPT, you can just like, look, can you just do this right, please, or stop being lazy and just get on with it. And it's
yeah,
quite cathartic actually to use it like that.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And it does come up with good stuff. But I think the thing is, you've got to train it, like you said. You've got to take a view that like it can only get better, and not everything it's going to tell you will like. But yeah, just use it, but also don't forget the basics. Like the basics of this job will never change, in my opinion. The basics of how we market to customers, the basics of how we interact with them in terms of there still needs to be some conversations at the right time. The basics will never go away. So don't get so wrapped up in the AI that you don't do like what you have
Well, I
been
think
doing successfully.
it's about conversations, right? So people want to feel heard and listened to, basically. So I think we can all agree that if we had time as an agent to go and sit in every single person's living room in your town and talk to them, you would have a hell of a business.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at what systems to use and what not to use, look at them and say, does that do the task it needs to do, but also enable me to go and have another conversation with somebody? You know, if my diary got so full that I was out of the office just having valuation conversations all day, could the office still run?
Mm.
Could these tasks and whatever task can be done, then do it there. So I think well, kind of to summarize an issue, but I think as an employer, I would be, yeah, not getting just drawn in all the shiny stuff, really, but not being afraid of it, as you say, looking at it and thinking, right, what can I do? What can it do that I am currently doing that is stopping me from having conversations with clients? Or what is stopping my team from having conversations with clients? Can it do that? And if I was an employee, rather than sitting there thinking, oh Christ, AI is going to come and take my job, I'd be learning it. And I'd be going to my employer and going, look, just so you know, I've learned this. I can now have X amount more clients on my books, or I can have do this job now because this can be done by that.
Yeah, yeah,
So listen, just the hard facts are people are going to lose their jobs at some point. Not necessarily, I'm not saying here, but just in the world.
yeah.
But the ones that won't will be the ones that embrace it and learn it and kind of and have it make them be more valuable to their workplace.
So, yeah, yeah. Which is like what companies, as a company, we've always had to prove our value to our clients to keep them. Now, almost employees are going to have to start proving their value to their employer potentially, or to themselves if they're trying to start their own business. You're going to have to demonstrate value, which you've never, sometimes in some people's cases, might not have had to do that before.
No, because it is interesting. If you just, I know this maybe goes away from that a bit, but back onto the employer piece. Listen, right? You want everything to be a bit of a balance. You just want fair in the world, right? You want someone to come to work, get well compensated, but for doing a fair amount of work. And you have to, I think, since the pandemic, the world swung vastly in the employees' favour. Like there's a lot we talk about well-being, and that's fine. And as with everything, you can go to extremes on it. Obviously, home working, now it seems you have to offer people the ability to work from home. So people, companies got these huge offices sat there. So it emptied. So it did very much swing in the employees' favour. And it was almost like people were doing you a favour by coming to work. And actually, with AI, it's going to even up a bit because a lot of employers don't get rid of people because they can't be asked to go through the hassle of recruiting, paying the recruitment fee, retraining, da da da. But actually, there's going to be some cases where they don't have to. And employers, it is important to know from an employee point of view, your employers getting beaten up left, right, and centre. The rates are going up, they're paying national insurance, they're paying pensions, everything is costing more. So if you're not providing value, it's not their responsibility to keep you in work. It's the real hard truth is it's your responsibility to prove your worth and either be employed or be self-employed, but it's your responsibility to earn your wage,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
for someone else just to give it to you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, It's that work ethic, isn't it? And actually, that sort of puts an argument. I mean, well, it puts an argument into working for independent agents or yourself because it's the bigger organisations. I don't even just mean in agency. You know, you got to look at like these massive organisations with, like you say, thousands of square footage of head office buildings, local councils, all these type of huge organisations. As an employee there, you're a number. You don't get a personal relationship with the managing director or anyone at a senior decision-making level. Whereas actually, you might have an advantage working for some of the more independent, smaller firms where you actually, again, you have a personal relationship with the owner of the company or with the managing director because it's harder to get rid of people that you kind of really know, isn't it? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of course. Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah. No, no,
that's an
that makes sense.
interesting thing that I just thought of as well.
Yeah, very good. It's
Thank
amazing
you.
what comes up when you talk Bulldogs.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, we'll wrap that one up then, shall we?
Yeah, I think so. So the summary is, I mean, AI is here, it's needed, it's useful, but it doesn't solve everything at the minute. And from an employee point of view, don't be scared of it, but do recognize you're going to get caught. If you're just trying to hide and be a bit lazy, you're going to get caught out.
Yeah,
Fair
100%.
summary?
Fair summary.
Good stuff. Right. Well, in that note, then, I have been Matt Baldock. He's been,
Neil Baldock.
and that's been Talking Bulldogs.
See you next time.